Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Where are you?
Near Chichester.
Ah, I like Chester. You're not too floody down there, are you?
No,
That's good.
not
That's
too
really
much
good
rain.
news. That's good. So you've got some Finsey, is that right?
Yes.
Are you warmed up?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we just start? So just imagine the gorgeous cello pizzica. Boom, ba-dee-da, boom, ba-dee-da. Beautiful. Can I just stop you there? Because I think that might be enough to. I would still love to hear you play the whole piece because it's really, really musical what you're doing. It sounds beautiful. I think there's a beautiful sound in the middle of what you're doing there, and it's sort of informing everything, and it will continue as you improve your playing to inform your musicianship because the sound is somehow the sound is the center. I think the sound is the center of the musicality. If you want the right sound, then you tend to be informing the music with your sound, which is really great. It looks as though you hold your instrument rather low.
Hmm.
Have you been told that?
I have been told that it's something I'm working on.
Great, good for you. Continue working on it. So one of the things about it is that um, uh, what, I always like to say oboe to face, not face to oboe, because if you put the oboe there and then you go like that, then you're doing all sorts of things with the back of your neck and compressing here. But if you actually just bring the oboe to you, so as a little exercise. I mean, I'm sitting in a chair, but if you imagine that you've got the oboe just hanging at the side of you,
Hmm.
and you just surprise yourself with the instrument. You go, oh, there's an oboe. So you, so you literally just bring it to where your face is, and you make sure that the arm is in a good position to get the oboe into the position you want. It's very hard to change postural things. It takes time. I think that would actually help a few things. There was a little bit of the F flying. Have you had that a bit of a problem with that? Like the F raising up and down a little bit in pitch, the first octave F.
Hmm.
Yeah, that would probably be because your embouchure and your position was a little bit unhelpful. But anyway, look, you're working on that, so let's not go too far on that. Just look again at the beginning. Um, so the thing is that the strings or the piano have got the same rhythm. Boom, 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 boom. So at the very beginning, like 2 before 4 and second after 4, you've got to be careful that the rhythm retains its integrity there, because you've got the strings boom, boom, ba-da-dee. So in a way, you played it quite free, which is nice because you're being expressive, but at the same time, you've got to be a little bit thoughtful that you've got other people who have got to play with you. Play the beginning once more and just try and keep those crotchets and quavers a little bit more in the tempo that's written. Then when you get to this bottom C sharp, you've got to actually really think about the angle of the instrument in your mouth, because if it's too much like that, you're not got enough. It's a double reed, so you've got to have control over the top and the bottom blades of the reed. And if your instrument's quite down, you can't really get enough purchase on the top. It's easy to bite with the bottom. It's very easy to bite because the jaw is so powerful. I mean, it's really strong, but it's actually muscles that push the energy to the top lip to balance the bottom lip. So just play the beginning once more, a little bit stricter, and really control that bottom C sharp. And think about the things that people have said to you about posture. Yeah, that looks great already for the bottom, and make that bottom C sharp really work. And also just let's just spend a second when you breathe. Just remember that the reed stays on your bottom lip, always on the bottom lip, because if it's on the top lip, you get the top of the roof of the mouth gets tight. So when it's on the bottom lip, the gravity of the reed in the oboe tends to go with the jaw. You don't need to open your jaw very far. But then when you close your mouth, it's important to close it with the jaw rather than with your head. So what I'm seeing is you doing this. So that's in slow motion, basically. Like that. And what I should be seeing is, so there's a slight difference with that. Just play the very first note and see if you can. Do you remember years ago, maybe old people remember this, there used to be a hilarious advert for Reach toothbrushes where so that was the bottom jaw and the top jaw, and the advert basically said Reach toothbrushes because you haven't got a flip top head. And then the head would go back like that, and the person would be brushing their teeth like this. And actually, that's hilariously true, because it's the bottom jaw only that moves. It moves downwards. The top jaw, you can keep it still, but then you're moving your whole head. So that's slightly what you're doing. If I was to really analyse it, it looks as though you're moving the top of your head rather than your jaw when you come down to breathe. So play the beginning once more, and this time try to think of almost no crescendo as you go up the range. Thank you. Sorry to stop you. That's beautiful. Just have a look at the score for a second. Do you see third bar of 4? He writes the word ritenuto. You know what that means. This is a piece in one movement with lots of different speeds in it. And often they'll write the word ritenuto over a long period, like 4 whole bars of slowish 6/8. And what you do, and this is a fantastic trick, is you kind of give a slight impression of getting your foot near the brake. But then at the last minute, you do quite a lot of braking, and then you turn the corner. So it's not actually very good driving. I don't know if you're driving yet, but that's not a very good way to drive. Just don't do that. But you can in Finzi. So it's like 2 da da 1 2 1 2 1 ba da 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 da. And what that does is all these different sections connect better without too much rallentando, but showing the different sections starting. And don't get just faster at a tempo. It says ma senza rigore, without rigour, without being too driven as well, so that it's kind of got a little bit of loosey-goosey in it. Play once more, and then I'm afraid we're going to have to stop. I could be here all day with you in this piece. keep going.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, look, I mean, we could work a little bit more on that, but it's lovely to have heard you play. Bravo, thank you so much. Okay, Alex, hang on a second. I just want to I mean, this is just the most beautiful, beautiful playing. And as a sort of little treat, I want to just show you something. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is Leon Goossens' oboe that this piece was written for. And I just want to get it out and show it to you because I think it's so inspiring to think that the piece you're playing was first performed on this beautiful little oboe. It's so light, and actually this aspect of it is about a thing to do with articulation and stuff I want to tell. But just have a look how simple it is. I hope you can all see that. It's got this bizarre collection of keys here, long F and long C sharp. I can't get used to those at all. Lots of touching of the wood with the hands. And on the back, I don't know if you can see, there's a place where his thumb used to go, is worn an indentation. It's got no automatic octaves, it's just first and second separately, no third octave key. And in fact, what's quite funny about the bell, can you see the bell? He had it sawn off. Can you imagine? It's a sawn off shotgun. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that because it's a beautiful little piece of history. I mean, I really, really love your playing. I tell you what I love about it most is the wonderful generosity of soul and heart in it. And I just want to say to you that that is something that is worth more than almost anything else. So don't ever let that go. You keep doing you. Keep doing what you do. Because trust me, it's working. It's coming across. I feel it. I feel you. I feel it. And I think it's really, really beautiful. And there's so many other really good things about your playing as well. But that's something that's just a standout point. So if you can touch people's hearts over this damn Zoom system with a set of headphones from South London to somewhere in Cambridgeshire, then I think you're actually doing pretty well. And you know, it was very, very beautiful. I made some notes while you were playing. Okay, one thing is that you don't seem to like tonguing very short.
Yeah.
Is that because it sounds pecky to you? Is there a reason for that, or is it something you just find it hard? What's going on there?
I think I find it hard. I think my tonguing's probably got worse and worse as lockdowns got longer. But also I think I
sincerely doubt that, but carry on.
Maybe a kind of support thing, I think, to make it easier to do that.
Okay, I mean the funny thing is that I think it's partly to do with there's sort of a moment of sort of body awareness of what's going on. So this is your reed and this is your tongue. So in order to start a note, the tongue is either away from the reed or on the reed, and the air has to be released into the reed by the tongue moving away. So we can start the reed. This is the reed. This is the tongue. We can start the reed by going bam, like a percussion instrument, or we can start by going da, like that. Now, this actually relates to the very first note you play in the whole piece as well, so it's not just to do with tonguing the fast stuff, but I think you always come from away from the reed and then go to the reed and then come away again. You never start on the reed and then release. Now, the thing is that it's a perfectly there are basically three ways of starting a note on the oboe. One is without the tongue, one is with the tongue without the tongue on the reed, and one is with the tongue on the reed then moving away. And I noticed that the Frenchies, all the French train players, tended to do a lot of ftar, like a very quick movement with a little bit of air, particularly when starting notes low. And very few of them went like that. So you got a lot of ftar, but it works quite well. A lot of people went kaboom. Get your air, put your tongue on the reed, get the air ready, and then when you want to start the note, move the tongue away from the reed and then put it back. This isn't a musical expressive exercise. This should be a bit like a lorry reversing. Burp, 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 like that. One of the things I really like to do is to get a sterile, clean approach to understanding technique so that then you can move away and be creative with it. But to start with, you've got to understand it physically. So I want you to put your tongue on the reed. Listen to this order is very carefully. Put your tongue on the reed, blow, take your tongue off the reed, put it back. So don't automatically take the tongue off when you blow. Do it on the first note. Good, very good. When you put the tongue back on the reed, you don't have to go that far away. you probably can go down a little bit and back, but just make sure that you're not changing anything in your throat at all when you take the tongue back forwards again. So the sound is almost brutally sterile. It's not at all a musical exercise. Try again. Very good. That's very good. The third one of those was a beautiful start. Did you hear that one? Do you notice it? Very good. So that you could just practice that starting from the reed, and then you can also start from a very short distance away from the reed. So it's a bit like the Frenchy ftar, 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 and you can also start also without the reed. You just do that once, just without the tongue at all. Beautiful. Okay, very good. I've just written very, very, very musical here. It's the nicest thing anybody could say. Now, yes, when you start the cadenza, I think it's important that it stays quieter for a bit longer. Because one of the wonderful things about that, if you look at the chord, it's actually a second inversion A minor chord. So it's E, A, C, and it's not A, C, E or C, E, A, it's E, C, A. And the second inversion minor chord is something of a speciality of Vaughan Williams. He always, if he wants to later on make you feel grounded, he'll displace you with a second inversion chord for a surprisingly long length of time. It's actually something Strauss does a lot. Strauss does it from 5 to 1. And Strauss delays gratification in that way. He'll bring the soloist to the climactic point and keep the dominant pedal, and then when the soloist is almost at its quietest, then the pedal resolves. It's like this gorgeous mix of places of emotion. But I think it needs to not get too quick too soon and not too loud too soon. So could you play from 2 bars before he says cadenza, the A natural F sharp, and just calm it down a little bit at the beginning of the cadenza, because it felt like it got a bit too much too soon. Sorry, that's great. I mean, I think that was probably. I mean, there are some rhythmic values printed, aren't there? And I think you're probably being a little bit too free for my taste, but that's my taste. I tend to always verge on the purist because Janet Crackston was such a tartar about it, and so I spent my whole life fighting, not being too continental about it all. But so you do what you like, but I think for my taste it was a little bit too slow and free, but it was beautifully sustained dynamically. Just the last 10 seconds, make sure the top E's got a really beautiful vibrato on it, and you don't have to play it too loud because it comes out loud anyway. It's a bit like in the Finzi, which we just started with. The top C's don't need pushing out at all, because I've played it for many years exactly as you did it, so playing letter C faster, and I actually was lucky enough to perform it once with Sir Peter Maxwell Davies, the composer, conducting it, and he did sort of Schenkerian analysis on the piece in front of the orchestra, and we were just like, huh? I played it by that stage for about 25 years already, and it was just mesmerizing. And he said he wrote it in one tempo. Why don't you try it in one tempo? Which is why in my recording of it, I actually don't play letter C faster, because you get yourself up a gum tree, don't you? With where do you go back to tempo primo? Is it at the recapitulation, the fortissimo, and then why are you playing so much faster than the opening there? Why doesn't he say tempo primo if he wanted it faster? There's many questions about that, which of course Joy is refusing to give me any extra time for. But
Sorry.
hey, you've got absolutely beautiful playing, Alex. Thank you so much. Wow. Absolutely fantastic playing. It's beautiful. It's really amazing. Rhea, this is just fantastic. Um, this is a weird thing, isn't it? You've got, there's an audience listening. You're in your normal practicing room. There's like it's a very unusual situation, but part of the challenge of the time of Corona is to understand that music transcends everything. It transcends all of these restrictions, all of these limitations, all of these difficulties. And so long as you're basically physically healthy, there's no reason why we shouldn't work to make music performance, even only for ourselves, something uplifting and joyous and relevant and special. So that's really, I mean, I want you to think about doing that more, because it's the most beautiful, musicianly, technically superb, gorgeous sounding playing. You just have a really great gift. It's astonishing. I absolutely love your playing. But I really, really want you to understand that what we're doing it for, and why what I hear in you has to be for. I mean, it's never mattered more that what we do has purpose and relevance. I mean, I have never sat in this room for so long without without concerts to go and give. It's the strangest, most horrible thing. I find it very, very, very hard. But at the same time, if I was in your position, or Alex, or Molly's, or anybody's really, sort of young and going into studying and thinking about maybe going to do music, it's a great time to really perfect your performance skills. Because if you can do it in your front room with a whole lot of people in tiny boxes on a screen, with everybody with the mute sign, with little applause things, with whoever listening wherever, if you can do it, then you can do it anywhere. In the middle of the bar. So the thing is, in Vivaldi, very often bar lines don't mean very much, and sometimes you get weird 2.5 bar phrases or 3 or 5 bar phrases. It's the bar lines are just a way of keeping counting, and you have to go outside the bar lines to actually find where the harmony is important. The low note, the way I'm picking on this particular place, a couple of times as you went through, you played with a really different articulation on the low note, and it was really beautiful. But then as you got more tired, you just kept going, and what I'd love you to do is actually show the phrasing and also change the articulation of the low note a little bit as you get to where you think it's more expressive. And it's generally on the third beat of the bar it's more expressive. So you can play short sometimes, but not every single time. Just play this little bit. Great, thank you. Good. You did exactly the same thing, which is that when you get to bar 32, you play the B naturals really beautifully. So that's what the way you're playing those weaker beats, particularly the fourth beat. That was really lovely. The thing is that harmonically, you've got a first inversion chord, so you've got G major chord with a B, and then you've got A, C, E, G. So you've got a seventh chord, which is on the third beat of the bar. So they've got a straight chord first inversion on the first beat of the bar, and a seventh chord on the third and fourth beats of the bar. So what that means is that the third and fourth beats are more interesting, particularly the third beat. And with Baroque music, what you're always looking for is where is there more harmonic stress. So it's not absolutely every third beat, but I think it's really worth just playing the chords. Even if you don't play the piano very well, maybe you do, but just play the chords so you understand where the expressive stress is. So just make it. And actually, if you start fairly strong, as you go down, with Baroque, it's very often as you go lower, it gets just a little bit gentler, and as you go up, it gets more. So it's kind of, I would describe it as naturalistic. It's a bit like, there are some very good examples of it in Chopin. Do you know? That's a very good, I think it's the first ballad, second ballad, one of the ballads. And it's a melody that the higher the note is, the more interesting it is, the more expressive and louder it is. And the lower, so it follows the actual mountain line. And sometimes with Vivaldi that's true too. As it goes down, you'll find it gets quieter. And as for instance, and then in bar middle of bar 35, it starts to go and that's like a Catherine wheel, like sort of bonfire night. There's a huge firework going off. That really enjoy that. Could you just play that once more? Play from 31 to go to as far as the middle of 40, and just really, if you want to go a bit crazy and really show the lines a bit more and show things a bit more, and just really break out. And if you make a new mistake, that's fine. James Turnbull will tell you, what did I always say when he made a mistake? He'll say, I always said that's great, because actually if you're really pushing the boundaries, then you might make a mistake, but what will happen is you'll get used to pushing the boundaries and the mistakes will go away. But that's not the point. The point is to push the boundaries. Okay? I need applause emojis immediately. That was absolutely brilliant. fantastic, Chelsea. Let's just talk about that. I don't want to talk in enormous detail because you and I did work on this before.
Yeah.
But it's so vastly improved from what you were doing before. It really is. It's just a tremendous leap up. Just before you get to figure one, so ti da 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 dee da 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 da. It's very important to come away enough 2 bars before one, so that actually there's not very much air pressure in the mouth for when you take the breath. And that's actually an important part of playing this piece well, is releasing the air pressure very slightly just before you breathe. So you never get like that kind of, because if you've got the air pressure to make the reed work properly in the instrument, then it's going to be, if you just let it go like that, it's going to make a noise. Whereas actually, if you just release with a bit of a diminuendo, even on a tiny scale, I mean, tiny in a tiny moment, it can just help you to get off the note, breathe, and get back into the next note. So just make sure you play quietly the bar before one, because it's the end of the first big phrase. And then at figure one, when the second phrase starts, don't play too loud too soon. It's what I said at the very beginning, that playing the oboe is all smoke and mirrors. It's about giving people the impression that we've got a vast range of dynamics. Now, there's an incredibly important aspect of this piece. Did I talk about the Jonathan Del Mar document? Yeah. Well, one of the things that did I send it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jonathan Del Mar, who's extremely, I mean, this you know this. Sorry about that. But extremely fine musicologist, and has done what's considered to be the most perfect, or the best version of the Beethoven symphonies, which people, Britain Sinfonia used in their recent recording with Thomas Ades, and Vienna Philharmonic used, and Berlin Philharmonic. He's a very, very great musicologist, and he went to the source of the Strauss concerto and found all sorts of differences, many of them. And one of the most important ones is figure 4. So it goes figure 4, and make a note, even if you haven't got your music in front of you, those that don't know this, it's a forte piano, not a piano, and it's a massive difference. So you need to, have you got a pencil there? Have you written in?
Yeah.
Good. Well, you need to do it.
Yeah.
It's funny because it feels odd, but actually this period of Strauss really does have forte pianos all over it. Good. I'd like you to play figure 7, please. Beautiful. That's really great. You know, my Janet Craxton used to say about that passage that if you can play that passage really evenly, then you've got a good technique. I think it's quite true, isn't it? Because there's all the horrible things, C sharps to D sharps using this, A sharps to B sharps as well, B to high C sharp, over the break from B to C sharp in the middle as well, and D sharp to E. So actually, that was really good. And it was very weich, it was very sort of soft and gentle as well. I mean, you could possibly be a little bit more springy, spring lamb, just for those 2 little beats, and then and it's so important that you prepare figure 8. Now, when you do this with an orchestra, I'm going to need you to give the conductor some instructions. One of them is that figure 8 must not rush on at all. It has to be incredibly calm, very little crescendo, emphasis on the double basses. But in a way, if you don't want to peeve the conductor, you can actually do that by the way you play into figure 8. And just leave it so that he or she has got to do, they have got to somehow take what you've created and make something of it. And most conductors, it takes time. I mean, the great ones, of course, will understand it wonderfully, but it takes time for them to really penetrate the sort of ins and outs of the harmony, which is quite mysterious in a way. Good. Let's go from figure 9. Go on. Fantastic, Chelsea. That's really great. Let's just talk about a few little things in the last few minutes we have left. There's a character in an opera. When you have a composer who is more than anything else an opera composer, so I'm talking about perhaps Britten, Strauss, Mozart, probably Handel maybe actually. It's important to understand what to know a bit about their operatic writing. There's an opera, I think I told you about this, Ariadne auf Naxos. Did I tell you about this? And there's a character, Zerbinetta, and she's very cheeky. She's very cheeky indeed, and it's just like the music at Figure 9. So you could be even shorter on the staccatos, even more piano in the sforzato piano. Having said that, 2 bars before 10, ba 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 ba, don't land on that E too hard, because the orchestra play. They've got a warm, gentle thing. If you go ba, like they've got to sort of find a way out of that. Concerto playing is always a dialogue, so there's always a way which you either challenge the orchestra or you invite them with you. I mean, there's different versions of that. When you have this beautiful thing for after 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, from the A natural to the G natural, the G natural is against a G sharp in the orchestra, so you've got to really find the connection between the A and the G as you take the finger down. It's got to be incredibly legato and very sort of emotionally connected, and don't rush it at all. I think so much of what you're doing is really great. I look forward to hearing you play more, but for now I'm afraid we've got to stop. But brava.
Thank you.
Very, very, very good. Huge improvement, my goodness. just want to say to all of you who've played how absolutely it's just really, really lovely to have heard you all, and I'm uplifted from hearing you all. It's very sort of, I don't know, it's amazing really. They're all so talented and so incredibly young. That must be what it's like working at the Purcell School, I guess.